What is up, everybody? Today, I'm going to go over the new banned and suspended announcement, but kind of from a different lens than I feel like everybody else is talking about. Even though these weren't the most impactful bans that we've ever seen, I think this is actually one of the most impactful announcements that we've ever had in the 5 year history of Flesh and Blood, and for some reason, people aren't talking about it very much. When I began playing Flesh and Blood in 2021, I came from a game that was going through sort of an identity crisis from 2020 to 2022. That game was having emergency bans that broke everything up to the oldest, most powerful formats that they had, and it was all the new cards that were doing this. And for me, the main selling point of Flesh and Blood was the non rotating format and the idea that we don't ban busted cards because we don't bust cards. Well, it turns out it's pretty easy to not break formats whenever there's only 3,000 unique cards in your game. I knew it wouldn't be like this forever, and there's no way that they continue to never break anything. And I was immediately proven right with Chain coming out. As someone who was playing Dashai and Dorinthi at the time, it was obvious that there was a huge change in the way that they were designing cards, and they had to do a ban. A big ban, in fact, for the most powerful deck that we had ever seen in this game up to that point. But it wasn't really what you expected it to be. You would expect it to be, oh, this is the most powerful card in the deck, or this is the biggest, splashiest card in the deck. But actually, they took a different approach. They took a very smart, surgical approach to their ban list. They banned Seeds of Agony, and I really agree with this ban specifically because it greatly lowered the power level of Chain without actually just handicapping the whole deck or taking away the identity of the deck. And I think that this is exactly where they need to be going with their bans in the future. As the game continues and we continue to grow and the philosophies change, we have some things that come out, notably Starvo. It looked like a weird and quirky little card, and people were fighting, whether it be in the purple Discord or in your local community Discord, whether this card was even playable. Any of the naysayers were proven immediately wrong in its very first event. We saw the power as Starvo players just started munching on their crayons, and they brought him to 1,500 LL points in one season. Starvo almost lapped the leaderboard in one single season, and they had to do multiple bans straight at him to keep him in check. They went with a similar approach again. Now, of course, Awakening had to get banned. That card was just obviously busted, broke some of the major tenets of the game. You know, you want to block on turn 0, but not Starvo and Awakening. It's just... Anyway, they took another similar approach to what they did with Chain by banning Autumn's Touch. You know, whenever this ban list came out and everyone saw Autumn's Touch on the ban list, what is this random common from Tales of Aria doing on the ban list? This is kind of funny looking, honestly, because what does it do? It says Earth at the bottom, and it blocks for 3. This is a really good way of going about this. Instead of just taking away the thing that makes Starvo Starvo, I mean, honestly, they should have just never printed his hero text like it is, but since it was that, they needed to find a way to get rid of some of the glue of his deck. And this is part of the reasoning why their past bans were so good, and maybe where they've been faltering a little bit as they've grown as a company and their design philosophy has grown. Today, we're firmly out of the we don't ban things because we don't break things idea that was pitched to me whenever I was first starting into the game. And that's okay. I'm fine with being more aggressive in the ban list. I'd rather them take leaps forward in the design and need to tone things down rather than never give us anything cool to play with all of our shiny cardboard that we buy. On one hand, I would like for them to go back to the time where the power cards in the decks were in the commons and rares. I feel like LSS is getting a bit bold with the rarities they're printing. I mean, just look at all of the power cards that are also the identity cards of each deck. By banning CLV in Blitz, you're taking away basically what makes Aurora Aurora. Now, CLV may be a very, very strong card, but it is kind of sad to, see that card and not be able to play it anymore. I really enjoy being able to feel the power of the hero no matter what format I'm playing. And if they would have taken CLV and CC, it would have been kind of sad because that deck just isn't the same anymore. That's what it does. It plays 0 for 4s and it gets go again and draws cards. You know, maybe that's too good of a thing. That's everything that you want to be doing. Is this the same thing as the Starvo problem? I don't know. But it's very important that we make sure that the power cards and the identity cards are not the same thing. Another thing that we're starting to see is just where they're printing cards in rarity. Feels like the LSS getting pretty bold with the rarities that they're doing, namely Shelter of the Storm. This card being at Majestic, whenever it's marginally better than Sink Below at common. Mind you, that is a $2 common, but I don't think that these mandatory Majestics that you need should be at the price Shelter is at. And that's coming from somebody who collects this game, who makes, like, I do a lot with this game, so it's just kind of weird to me that Shelter is that expensive. Maybe one day it comes down, it's not so much in the meta whenever people aren't flicking as many knives, but it's a 0 for 4 D-React. I mean, we only have 2 other of those in the game. I mean, I guess you also have Springboard Somersault and like one other one that's really, really bad from Monarch. I can't even remember the name. But, like, I digress. There's only 2 other decent ones in the game. Why couldn't this just be printed at common? This just makes it so much harder for, in the future, to be able to ban cards or look at formats to make things healthier. There was a lot of talk about banning Sync and Fate. And if you ban Sync and Fate, then what are you going to do with Shelter? That's a $200 Majestic that you need 3 of if Sync and Fate are gone. Like, it's just kind of ridiculous that they're printing rarities in these cards. I'm going to go back to reminiscing on the Starvos and Chains of the world. We knew what their powerful cards were, and they were worth less than $1. As we move forward with a more aggressive ban policy, we should keep the power and the glue cards to the lower rarities so that we don't see people's entire decks getting banned out from under them and they lose all the identity of their hero at the same time. At least be able to keep the identity of the hero if you're going to ban the power out of the hero. As I listened to Brian talk on the Push the Point podcast saying, bans are our friends, I don't disagree, but so are commons and rares. Majestics being the power cards not only make it harder to surgically remove cards, it also makes it so that the identity of the deck is taken away when you ban a power card. I'm confident that they will take the right card away as they've shown in the past. And I also love that they're using this data-driven approach that they are talking about with the new gem software, but it takes a lot of skill to find the nuance in that data. I am willing to bet that the data did not show at the time that Autumn's Touch was the real problem in the Starvo deck. That takes a lot of nuance to decide. That takes hundreds of games being played and being watched and deck lists being submitted to actually kind of realize that. So I hope that as they go into this more data-driven approach, they're not just looking at big number, ban big number. They're actually building a team of people who have the capability to look at this data and parse this data, clean it up, and also make sure that we're going towards the right thing, not just outlier ban. That doesn't really feel good to me. I feel like they should definitely be taking a more measured approach, and I hope that that's what they're doing. I also love the reasoning they put for banning CYB. Although that is the way that they want Control to be played, as James White said in the dev talk, they're actually listening to the players instead of just having hubris. They could have easily told us to figure it out and get good. And this is what Control looks like. Letting the card play out at its full power, then toning it down a little bit, then taking it away completely over the course of about a half a year was a good way to try a new design. It's not like we can just look at other games and be like, oh, this was broken in this game, so it's going to be broken in our game. If you look at other games, life gain is not a very good mechanic. It just doesn't really work that well. But in this game specifically, it does. So with the unique system that LSS has created, they don't really have anybody to follow in their footsteps. This is a completely new sand beach that they're walking in right now. And good luck LSS and their dev team to find a way to break something that we won't be able to find as well. I can't believe how hard that job possibly is to not actually just break the game. But the most important takeaway for the CYB ban is actually just their ability to listen to the community, first of all, and second of all, not succumb to the immediate wrath of social media and just listening to the highest, whoever is the loudest. I think that it would be a huge problem if LSS just was banning things based off of what is getting the most complaints on Twitter at the time, or Blue Sky, or whatever, Discord, anywhere. Because if we were just banning everything people complained about, then every single card in this game would be banned. But they took a very measured approach, and I hope that they continue to take measured approaches, as well as taking a measured approach into the actual data science behind looking at these cards. And finally, we have the biggest change in Flesh and Blood that nobody is talking about. The bans are fun to talk about, figuring out the new meta is interesting, but this is probably the biggest impact on the game we've had since the book burning or FAB 2.0. What a wonderful way to get people into the game now. This is probably the best time to start the game if you're a new person coming in and looking at these new heroes in high seas and being like, oh, this is so cool, but what if they pull a Zen or a Starvo and they end up leaving in 6 months or 8 months, even Enigma? This is your excuse to just buy into the new set. I think that this is a great idea as long as they combine it with keeping the ban list aggressive, because if there is something that's broken in Gravy or Marlin, then they're able to hit it. And also printing things for older heroes so that they can actually get out of the game. There are some troublesome designs that we've seen from Flesh and Blood 1.0, and I'm sure that there will be some designs from today that will be troublesome in 5 years. So it'll be really nice being able to get rid of some of the older heroes faster with the multiplied by 1.5, and being able to keep your new hero in for longer, as long as those heroes aren't oppressive for too long. I really like the way that LSS has gone with bans in the past. I really like the way that they've updated the Living Legend system to continue into the future. Like they said in the dev talk, this is the first time that this has ever been a thing as well. So there's also really no following anybody's footsteps in this. So I think that it's really interesting. I mean, this is the 5th time that we've had a new Living Legend points distribution. If even that, I don't know. I've lost track at this point. But I think that it's really interesting, and I honestly think that they knocked it out of the park with this whole ban list. And this points distribution change is probably one of the best things that they've ever done, and it's one of the most impactful things that they've ever done as well. Like, it's really up there with getting rid of Unlimited. It's really up there with introducing Marvels. This is going to really help out new players and really help out people who are trying to sell the game to new players. I think that LSS did really well with this ban list, and I'm excited to see what they do in the future. If you think that LSS did really well with this, or if you hated it and you think that all of this was awful, then let me know in the comments. I would love to discuss with everybody about where exactly the game is going, what we want to see in the game. Do you think a more aggressive ban list is a good thing? Do you think that this LL points distribution is a good thing? And do you think the bans were a good thing? Let me know in the comments. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. At 500 subscribers, I'm going to do a little giveaway for one lucky person. So yeah, make sure to make that number go up. And I appreciate every single one of you. Have a wonderful day.